Hi everyone. So I thought I'd come on here and put some stuff on my face, some new things I've gotten, and have a little talk, I guess. Not sure what I want to talk about. I was going to talk about Trans Day of Visibility had been up here recently, and there's this kind of internal conflict of like, I'm non-binary. I don't think I want to talk about this. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, you don't necessarily identify as trans when you're non-binary, and I don't know. I feel like there's this weird kind of like guilt of taking attention away from people that are more trans. I know that's kind of a common thing. Yeah, also I've got this like yellowish situation going on my hand here, and I don't know if it's a bad side effect that I need to talk to my doctor about, or if I just got like something on my hands. Oh Lord. I'm on this new medication because just a little upfront talking about mental health stuff, I guess we're doing this. I don't even know. I take Zoloft, which is an SSRI antidepressant, and it's for depression, and I also have generalized anxiety disorder and social phobia stuff, and just got a lot of issues with anxiety and whatnot. Anyway, so we'd already adjusted the dose a couple times, and things have been really hard lately, and so I was like, I don't know if we should adjust it again, and she's like, yeah, I don't think that would really help. So she we're trying out something in addition to the Zoloft, and it's lamotrigine, which can have a lot of it's an anticonvulsant, so something that's used for epilepsy, and it also works for other mental health related issues, and it can have a variety of kind of really bad side effects. So you always want to be aware of what those side effects are, and to keep an eye out. And one of them is like unusual bruising or bleeding and yellowing of the skin, and it's almost like I have a bruise on the palm of my hand on this finger. I don't know where it came from, or if it's like just stained from something else. What kind of prompted me to want to talk about being non-binary along with Trans Day of Visibility is this MAC palette it's a collaboration with Harris Reed, who is a gender fluid fashion designer. And when I saw it on MAC's site, I was there to look at foundation, and I saw that collection because I'm so out of the loop. I don't know what's going on. I don't pay attention to new stuff anymore about makeup. And anyway, so I saw that. I'm like, oh, yes, I must support this. So I bought it. Really pretty. Beautiful packaging. Really nice. Really nice formula of the things I've used so far, which has been most of it. I've used most of the colors now. This shade right here is so cool. Very, very creamy, pigmented, easy to work with. Has kind of an interesting little undertone to it, like a little pinky to go with the kind of coppery. Very shiny. I was wearing this in, I think, the e.l.f. Camo CC video that I just posted. Yeah, so anyway, so that kind of got me thinking, well, if I'm going to make a video about that, and if I want to talk about, it's been a bit since I came out, I guess, as non-binary, and had the realization internally, and just knowing more people that are non-binary, kind of seeing where kind of some of our experiences have similarities, and knowing more trans people, it's just been kind of enlightening in a way, and made me kind of think about things that, like, oh, this is relevant, this makes sense. And it's easy to just not think about those things. Whew, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk and do this. All right, so I'm going to take this kind of like neutral brown. Hi.
I'm asking my wife to monster. This ain't come from mine.
Okay. Not sure what that was. Something about Colin's room. Yeah, and just like kind of thinking about things that I maybe wouldn't otherwise, you know, things that you just, you know, until you, for me at least, until I say something to somebody or, you know, the internet.
I can't find my monster truck.
You can't find your monster truck?
Yes.
Do you think it's downstairs?
No.
No? Is it in your ottoman?
No. But it was in Conwood. But I was at Conwood. And so I didn't miss.
It was in Colin's room. What happened?
Guess I'm close.
You can close it. Now I'm going to go in with the other mat, which is kind of a burnt orange situation. I keep holding this thinking there's a mirror. There's no mirror in there.
Oh, dust.
Oh, dust.
Put it to put in.
Yeah, you can put it in. You know, sometimes until I like say something out loud, I don't really, it doesn't really click, or, you know how, I don't know, maybe it's, I imagine it's probably something that's common to people with anxiety, but, or maybe not. Maybe it's some other trait. But I tend to get stuck in a loop. And if I talk about it, I can break myself out of that loop.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. But if I don't talk about it,
Bye-bye. See you later.
see you later. I tend to just kind of go in circles. Like this morning, I was sitting on the couch, like, with no, I just could not summon the energy to do anything. And right now the kids are mostly occupied, so now would be a good time. But until I said something to some friends on the Discord, I just could not get myself to get up and make coffee. That's all I needed to do, was like get up and make some espresso, and then I could kind of get out of that loop. But I was stuck. So I unstuck myself. Anyway, this is very like combination of topics here, and I am feeling rather disjointed. So I haven't used that pink in the middle, and I would like to use it for something, but I don't know how.
Hi.
Hi. I also haven't used this darker shade much.
Bye-bye, Ma.
Bye-bye, Jack. I guess I'm gonna put on that pink somewhere and see what happens. See how it looks. See how it translates. Yeah, it's kind of like a gold pink. Pink with gold sparkle. Anyhow, oh, I am obviously not able to focus today. And so anyway, I was talking to a friend on a different Discord that is also non-binary, and just talking about gender and like this idea that, you know, there are kids, trans kids, that just know, you know, even 3-4 years old, they know that they're a girl or a boy, and that, you know, their body doesn't line up with that. And that always kind of amazed me in a, like, how do you know though? Because I don't feel like anything for sure. It's like I know what I'm supposed to do and be. I don't feel that. I don't feel it anyway, really. Like, inside, I don't feel like a boy or a girl. I just feel like me, you know? And I know that if I had a choice, like clothes, I always gravitate towards, if I'm thinking about wearing it myself, it's, I like how the boys look, and I want to look like that. And knowing that, you know, my body is not shaped like that. But no desire to change it, just like, this is what I would like to look like, but I can't really, and that's okay. So I'll take some of what I can from that and try to apply it to myself. And then, especially when I was younger, and in a very different crowd, I wasn't with other queer people. I was in this very because what I was interested in was computers and programming, and that crowd tends to be pretty white, pretty het, pretty cis. That's what it was. And especially early days of the internet, it's a pretty small crowd. So now I'm taking that darker shade, which is kind of bluish. I don't know how this is gonna look. And I knew that I just wanted to be one of the guys. But then there's also this kind of inherent power, take what you can get, right? Of being a girl in those spaces, because it was so much more unusual, especially, 10, 15 years ago. And so that definitely kind of gave me some baggage as far as that went. Because it's on one hand, I did just want to kind of disappear into that crowd without anybody knowing. But then I also, appreciated that you kind of got some inherent value you might not otherwise when they know. So that was a whole weird thing. And that definitely kind of colored how I felt about things. And how I thought about things. Because there was a kind of a weird small advantage, leveraging my gender as it was. But then at the same time, I was in this kind of group of internet people. And there was one other person that was trans that I did not know it, but the only other girl in that space. And I remember saying that I just wish the whole gender thing would go away. Which is funny that I had that thought at that time, but it didn't really come together for me until many, many, many years later. Well, this is something. Wonder how that kind of bluish shade would look in the middle here. Meh. I don't know. So, and something that, I talked with my spouse about early on, because he was he feels like things are changing, but then he's like, and he knew that things weren't actually changing. It was just what I was willing to talk about, and willing to talk about, and also just willing to take the time to think about, to really actually think about stuff that maybe isn't so easy, that's going to change things for your expectations of other people and yourself. And, that can be hard because, you can be in this bubble of people that get it, or maybe they don't get it, but they're not going to talk to you about it. And then at some point, you're gonna think about, well, do I want to raise my expectations and requirements of other people? So one thing that kind of, I was brought to this point where I don't mind being called she or her, because I wasn't sure how I felt about they as a pronoun. And for myself, I use it with other people, no problem. And that is something that totally just gets easier and more natural with practice. Just think about the person that has different pronouns than what you're used to. Just think about them. Think about, oh, they went to the store today. Oh, they're coming over later. Just have that kind of internal dialogue and practice. and then it's just like natural. Then you don't, and if you mess up, you say, oh, sorry, and then fix it. It's pretty straightforward, right? But I wasn't sure how I felt about that applied to me. But then something that I did feel fairly strong about was that I wanted people to use gender neutral nouns. So like parent instead of mom, sibling instead of sister, spouse instead of wife. But how are people going to know that if I'm still like primarily using she, her pronouns? So I'm like, I probably should just try to move and increase my expectations, my requirements a little bit, and tell people that I prefer they. Because then it's going to make sense that I would also, it's easy to make that jump of, well, then they're going to expect also gender neutral nouns. But for me, it's like I have difficulty talking about myself, personal things. I can talk about hobbies, I can talk about my kids, I can talk about a lot of things without much problem. But when it comes to me as a person, that's when, makeup, I can talk about makeup, It's like I have no problems, like public speaking or whatever. I never had a problem talking about something else. And my social issues are all about when things are focused on me and me having the small talk and me talking about things about me. And when I can deflect it towards talking about my kids or talking about my hobbies, then it's all of a sudden much easier. But talking about myself, what I want, what I need, that's a lot harder for me. And even talking about like mental health stuff, it's like that I don't find difficult because it's like, it's talking about these things a little bit separated from myself. It's kind of like talking about kids and hobbies and stuff is the easiest. Talking about mental health stuff is medium. What's that? Oh. So, and talking about, so all I'm doing here is I just went in with this and this. So this first, and now I'm going with this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying not to make it too muddy, which is on the road of happening. So, talking about mental health stuff is kind of like, it's difficult, but it's easier than for sure talking about being non-binary plus what I want other people to do. Because I'm very much part of the anxiety and my temperament is that I want to be in control and of what I can, and I will go to great lengths to have an idea of what I can expect of a situation. When I don't know, the unknown really makes me very uncomfortable. And when you have like, all of a sudden you're kind of putting some, I want other people to do things. All of a sudden, I want you to recognize this and use different pronouns. That's difficult. That's very, 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 very difficult for me. I don't want to tell people. I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to, I don't know. That whole thing just like really freaks me out. And I'm sure it's social anxiety, social phobia, anxiety in general, along with knowing that people aren't necessarily, comfortable with it yet. And so that it's a lot. It is a lot. And so, yeah, I don't know if I'm going anywhere with this, but that's kind of where I've been recently is like, yeah, I feel like I do need to put some expectations on people. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. It makes me very uncomfortable. But then what makes me more uncomfortable is when people call me a girl, they call me a wife, they call me, you know, whatever. So, I think, well, it's worth it. But it also scared me. Freaks me out. What is going on with this eyeshadow here? Got the darker color and the blue kind of snuck down there on one side, but not the other. I don't know. This look is not my best work, but I'm also trying to talk about something that's challenging, and I haven't really rehearsed it mentally. I just got on here and tried to start talking, and all of a sudden I felt kind of panicked, and I've got that weird coloring on my hand, and now I'm wondering, like, is this a side effect? Is it a bruise? Is it a bruise from the side effect? Is it jaundice? What's happening? I mean, it doesn't hurt. I don't know. So I think I'm going to try to pack on the darker shade a little bit more and the blue shade a little bit more, just to give it a little more separation, look a little less muddy, a little more precise application perhaps. You know, so another thing that I was thinking about is for one of my other hobbies is fandom related, and I do now spend a moderate amount of time on Tumblr, which I never did before. And so I feel like there's a lot of terminology that's kind of applicable to the LGBTQ community that I have not seen and I can't remember. And so anyway, I came across this really great resource. I'll put a link to it below, that explains every acronym known to man, all the different words. You know, there's so many words that maybe you've never seen before. I come across stuff regularly that I'm not sure what it means. And it's really helpful to just be able to look it up somewhere. And it's just like this huge index of terms and explanations. So that's been really helpful because, you know, the people on Tumblr are generally, the fandom people on Tumblr are a lot younger than I am, like 20 years younger than I am. And I feel like they're coming from a very different place. And I don't necessarily interact with a lot of these young people, but I do see them out there doing things. So, you know, the type of person I am, I like to absorb information, not have to talk to anybody about it so they don't know that I don't know. And so that's been a useful resource for me. Yeah. So I think that's probably all I really want to say, unless I can think of something else, and I'm just going to focus on trying to get the rest of my makeup on. That looks pretty. And I'm going to use that lightest shade. I have used this as a highlight actually, and it works quite well. I'm going to use that in the inner corner, and maybe I'll use that as a highlight too, since I just mentioned that it works nicely as a highlight. Okay, and now I'm just going to go in with that eyeshadow, the light one, with a brush like this. Are you clean? I don't know. Tap it off. Sometimes when you use eyeshadows as highlights, they can go on way too metallic, but I find this one goes on really nice. Usually, if I'm thinking straight, I will do highlight before I do my brows, because I do like to go up over there, and I like to kind of just blend it through my brows a little bit, but I'll have to try to be a little more precise today. Isn't that pretty though? Without being too metallic. And I like that kind of in that dip up here, a little bit around the nose to highlight the fact that I have a tiny bit of some structure. And then just kind of take it down a little bit. Okay. So mascara and some sort of lip products, and I think I'm done. Lipstick, I'm just going to use this little sample, like deluxe sample I got with a promo code from Sephora. It's the YSL Rouge Couture in 70. I find it's pretty similar to my lip color. If I don't use too much. It's got that funky, I think it's watermelon or something. The only time I've encountered this is with those old, because I don't, this is probably the only other YSL lip product I've used. The old, like, stain gel things. Oh, whatever those things were called. It's got that same scent. So I'm assuming that's just the YSL lip color scent. This is looking more pink than I remember it yesterday looking. Maybe because I'm in full light instead of like 10 o'clock at night putting on lipstick. Yeah. So let me know if you have any questions. I talked about a lot of stuff. About the products, or being trans, or being non-binary, or pronouns, or expectations of society and people. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions, comments, whatever. I always love hearing from you guys. If you want like full review, I do plan on doing like a review of this. If you want to see how it looks compared to a few other things that are too dark and something else is similar, you can see it in a review video and also swatches that I have on the blog from the e.l.f. Camo CC review, which I just posted. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you soon.